Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo Saturday edition. I'm your host and keeper, the Harry Channel, and with me tonight are minions Sora Luna.
Hello.
Serenity Star 13.
Hola.
DrFunctional.
Hi.
SkepTok.
Hi, everybody.
And our esteemed guest, Jack Gunsky.
Has anyone seen my pet squirrel?
It's at the bottom of a shoebox.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, tell me what people are talking about in this thing. I barely remember. I saw a picture of Harambe with a squirrel. What the hell is going on? Jack?
As far as I can tell, there was a guy with a pet squirrel, but it was an illegal pet of a sort. And so the state basically stepped in and tested it for rabies by killing it, which is kind of like the method of testing if you're a witch or not by my metric.
So they tested it with extreme prejudice.
Yeah.
And he also apparently had either a raccoon illegally or whatever, and that raccoon has also now gone the way of Harambe.
Yeah. So the state basically
the only way that you can test for rabies, just so everybody knows, you have to take a slice of brain.
Yep.
That is the only way that you can know what's going on with rabies.
Yep.
Just a PSA right here. Go ahead.
That's probably why they haven't tested the women on The View.
that's
They can't find the brain.
They've got
That's
the
a good
behavior,
point.
but they
That's
can't
great
find a
point.
viable sample.
I was about to say you can already see the frothing, so I don't know why we just can't.
Yeah.
It down already.
No, they have brains. It's just too dense. Not even a diamond drill could get through that.
There you go.
that's why
Plutonium.
I'm kind of reminded of like the Salem witch thing. I don't know how accurate it is, but the whole thing about like if you're a witch you float, and if you're not a witch you drown.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's you're fucked if you do, fucked if you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
That's
much.
okay, because if you drown, that means you're not a witch, which means you're going to heven. So that's
Well,
fine.
no,
Yeah.
okay, no, it means you can be, because you have to remember this was in at least in the States, you could be go through the burial rites of the Christian church in America and then be buried. So you had to be able because then they would kill you if you floated.
Christianity, totally not a death cult. Totally not a death cult.
Hey, man.
Hey, we
Oh.
got some great art out of it. I mean, as great
the
as the
cathedrals are nice.
the tiles are in like the Alhambra and all this other stuff, as great as all that stuff is, Christendom, in terms of the artwork that's been created, from the music to everything else, has completely kicked everybody's ass.
The fucking cathedrals, man. Like, Jesus.
They've got some pretty great buildings in other places, but yeah, the cathedrals, but the painting and the music and the writing and it just wins. It's not even really a fight. It's really just a question of debating who gets second place.
Every Warhammer player ever, when you get into a fight, you play the right Gregorian chant, you get everybody going.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yes!
Yes.
I don't care if you're talking about the death of Jesus. Let's do this.
So, I don't quite remember the actual name, but so in high school, I was fortunate enough to go on a trip to France with our class, and we did go to Le Mont Saint-Michel, which is an island city that gets fully covered when the tide comes back in. It is one of the most beautiful places that I completely recommend if everyone ever has a chance to go.
That is absolutely
Glasgow.
spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. I join your recommendation.
It is the best place in France, I think, personally.
It's so cool.
It's one of the most photographed places.
And you go up and up and up, and then we got to listen to Gregorian chanting live, and they sell CDs. By the way, the monks there do sell
I'm sure
CDs.
they do.
That was one of my few abilities to buy things when I was on that trip. I bought a CD. It is fantastic. There's something powerful about that kind of music.
You guys still sell the wine there?
As a 16-year-old, that's not something I looked at
Okay.
for.
Never mind.
at the
Never
time.
mind.
I'm going to assume probably,
Yeah.
You were in France. They'll let
but
you drink.
I honestly don't remember that.
All right.
You were in France.
I
they'll let
bet you
you
they would
drink.
have sold it to me because it's France. But
Yeah.
like,
France wine is everywhere.
So are the No, I'm going to stop.
Just so you know, to tell you how ubiquitous wine is, this is absolute truth. I didn't get this in my lunch, but some of the kids that I went to school with, and I'm talking about in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, got watered, sweetened wine in thermoses that they brought to school, and that's what they had to drink. You know, where I was drinking like milk out of little thermos kind of situation, or you know, these guys were drinking wine. I remember trying something, thinking it tasted awful. But that was wine was a particularly watered down wine and sweetened wine for children with a very small alcoholic content, but it was a way to have clean drinking water, basically.
I think that all children should go to school drunk.
It didn't get you drunk, but you could tell that you felt different when you had some. It didn't really get you drunk.
It's also probably the alcohol volume is very low too.
Very low.
Because it's like a table wine, right? It's
right, exactly.
Table wine kind of thing. So it's not,
and it's watered and sweetened. It's or blended with fruit juice, almost like sangria.
Yum.
Yeah.
That would have made school a lot better.
Well, that's what you think. I still remember at university, and I'm sure I've told this story at least once before. When I realized I'm over 21, I could have a beer with lunch and it won't be a problem. And then
this story again.
I've only told it once before, and I remember going to it was like an upper division abstract algebra class. It's more boring than it sounds, and it was like this hot, cramped classroom. And I was so miserable. It was like the most torturous thing, because I simultaneously wanted to chop my head off because it hurt so much and fall asleep. It was really bad. Not much. It was really hard to fake paying attention in that class. That was the first and last time I ever had beer during the day in school.
The only thing that's ever given me a hangover has been tequila.
Is what?
Tequila is the only thing that's ever given me a hangover. Everything else, I don't have it. I never get a hangover.
Sorry.
Okay, so this has all gone. This has all gone completely off the rails. But in terms of churches, what about this one? This one I've mentioned before.
That one's awesome.
Yeah.
I love seeing pictures of that one.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Now this was actually, I believe, built by the French, so it's.
I think so, yeah, because it has the same. The French cathedrals have the big old circle window on the side.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a lot of their cathedrals. Notre Dame has it. That's kind of iconic for them. I think some others have tried to copy them, but yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm sure that the locals volunteered their labor freely without reservation.
100% volunteered, for room and board, and
And French cathedrals are, think height, think light, think buttresses.
Yep.
Okay, and the circular portico. Exactly.
And remember, years of wear and tear on stone makes them look dark gray. When they were built, they were all very pale or white.
Still looks good to me.
Yep.
Oh yeah, but no, there's a picture of I think it was a cathedral in either Spain or Italy where they had finally cleaned all of the candle and
it was Siena, the cathedral at Siena, Italy. I know what you're talking about. I'm a cathedral watcher. Yes.
And they showed the walls next to each other where there was a line.
Yeah,
it was like
I saw the same thing.
It was like dark gray and smudgy and ugly and then pure alabaster white. And you're just like, this is the reason why in our age everybody thinks churches are terrifying. But back then they were places of sanctuary, because you walk into a bright white building, it's like, oh, I'm fine. Fuck it.
Yeah.
It's like, explain
I feel
so
better
much.
already.
Yeah.
So let me get this thing back on track here. So Jack, is there anything you want to? What have you been up to? Give us the short version, because we just wasted most of your time.
What? I feel on the spot all of a sudden, Harry.
Yeah, I know.
No rush, man. No rush.
Well, since I know you have to leave like halfway through because you've got other commitments and stuff. Do you want to plug your show now?
I don't have other commitments. I'm tired.
Oh, okay. You have a commitment with sleep. But
Well,
you're still doing the games with Terry
out
thing.
as long as I can.
But you're still doing games with Terry,
Yes.
right?
That's Sunday nights at 7:00 Eastern or 4:00 the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we play what do you call them? Point and click adventure games. We've done a lot of the classics like Day of the Tentacle and what
Nice.
else? Monkey Island.
Mm-hmm.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah. And now we're playing this cruddy one called Broken Age. After like after LucasArts got through, after we got through most of the LucasArts one, the rest of them are just kind of a lot of them are bad.
Broken Age, did they ever actually finish that one?
I would guess that they did because I'm playing it right now. It's not very good.
Well, because I remember when the first chapter came out, like all the streamers had it on there, and then no one showed anything. After that.
There's good reason for that. Let me tell you this much: the game features the voice talent of Will Wheaton. So,
and Elijah Wood's the main boy character, if I remember right, isn't it?
yes.
Yeah. I remember some stuff, even though it came out forever ago.
Yeah, it's not very good. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
Steam seems to disagree with you.
So,
Because it's 9 out of 10.
functional.
Sorry, kid.
Mm-hmm.
How's it going, man?
It's going.
How's Toronto?
Cold?
Cold? Is it winter
Sure.
there?
Not yet.
No.
I'm
You know,
there with you, buddy. How
older.
cold are you up there?
I don't know.
I
Hoodie, but still wearing your shorts?
Yeah.
was going to say, we're about 40 degrees down here, and you and I are almost exactly in line with each other. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's colder up there.
It got to the point here in beautiful California where I thought about turning on the heat briefly, and I said, nah. No.
Oh, I still haven't turned the heat on. I would like the record to show I still haven't turned the heat on because I'm that person. But yeah, no. Yeah, you and I are about the same temperature, functional. So
Good.
it's fun.
Anything else new and exciting?
Quitting smoking?
Oh,
Whoa.
Hey!
Holy crap.
Well
Cool.
done.
What day are you on, or did you just start today?
2.
Okay.
Yay!
Nice.
That's 2 days.
How you holding up?
It sucks.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good thing you're quitting smoking, but at the same time, going through that sucks. Either way.
Yeah, it is what it is. I've done it before. A couple
I
times.
think
as well.
I think that we should spend the next
a
20
headache.
minutes talking about how
Oh,
much
God, I
it
hate
sucks.
that.
It's a headache more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta love the withdrawal headaches. They're so much fun.
Well, I mean,
Withdrawal
withdrawal from
symptoms
anything.
peak on the second or third day of being nicotine free.
Hell yeah, I wouldn't mind some wine.
Cleveland Clinic.
Are
So
you,
get-
sorry.
after about 3 days, you're good.
Are you doing the patch or anything, or are you just
Cold turkey. in it?
soldiering through?
There's some aids in there. There's
Okay.
some assistance.
Okay.
That's good.
All right.
You're still getting nicotine. Yeah. Okay.
I am, but it's
Nothing you can discuss on YouTube
I
for fear
understand.
of getting his
no,
hit?
no. It's just
Okay.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Uh,
fair.
it's-
That's fair.
Excuse me. It's just like assistance stuff. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
that will help. That will
Mhm.
help a lot.
Oh, definitely. It definitely does.
It will help you so much. Yep.
I just I don't know. It's weird. What's the word I'm looking for? It's just it's when you're so habitually inclined to do something, and then like now you're just sort of sitting here going, but I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
It's just that's the weirdness of it.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's also realizing, hey, it's 2057 and I'm not dead.
And food will taste
Well, I
better
mean-
between now and then. That's the thing I think functional might enjoy because everything's going to
There you go.
taste a little bit better.
A little bit. Some of it just starts tasting at all again.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I would think that would be like a big motivation
It's a
for you,
huge
but
side of
maybe you just reached
huge.
like reach the point where it's like, yeah, I've tasted everything already. I'd rather have a cigarette.
No, that's what
No, I mean, I know that that's what's supposed to happen, but I don't. It doesn't feel any different than when I wasn't smoking. If that makes sense. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Your night vision's going to improve too.
Night vision.
Yeah, your ability to see in the dark.
It kind of reminds me of when I had a lot of weight loss. I always thought that, I was going to feel like amazing all the time, but I felt pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, it's not as seen on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good job, man. Good job. Hi, Serenity.
Hello.
Anything new and exciting? I already know what's new and exciting. The game.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's all
But,
that matters.
I never told anybody the story. The only one who kind of had to hear the aftermath of it was Sora and Geodes. The barn cats fought off a bobcat.
Nice.
I had to stop the barn cats from killing the bobcat because I'm like, guys, he ran away. Leave him alone. There may be another new cat. We don't know because we saw a streak and we're not sure. What else is there? We think there's some coyotes running around, but they're not stupid enough to come near the house because most of them end up dead. So they're just kind of like, we're not doing that.
Yeah, that's the place where the coyotes don't come back from.
It's like, we don't come back from that. We have a new rooster. He is camera shy.
Something to crow about.
He does not like me to take his picture because the phone freaks him out. Rule for anybody who's going to have chickens. 1, if you're going to have chickens, make sure you have a rooster. 2, make sure you have more than one rooster because they all keep each other in check. We have 3. They all hate the phone. They all have various opinions of the phone, though. 2 of them will run from it. The other one tries to peck it. And they're tall too. They're all 3 from the same rooster from another farm, and they're leghorns, and they're big for leghorns.
Did they talk in exaggerated Southern accents?
No, but one of them likes to crow like a douchebag at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah. I've had chickens like that. I know what you mean.
Oh no, he hasn't done it in a few days because I woke up, picked up a bottle off the table that happened to be glass, and threw it at him.
Well, they do it because they hear stuff. That's what makes them go off. That's what made mine go off.
Well, it's the thing is, if the other 2 or the dogs aren't reacting, I'm just like, dude, just leave it alone. Like, right. I don't care if there's something out there. If it's not coming near the house, there's 2 badgers that live near the house. They don't do anything. They don't steal any chickens. They don't steal any eggs. Leave them alone.
A 1 chicken alarm is nothing to worry about. Like a 2 dog alarm, that's a different thing. Yeah. But a 1 chicken alarm.
Plus, with the dogs, I can tell the difference in their barks, so I know when they're telling me someone's here and when they're like, But what else is there? I don't think there's anything else. Someone tried to give me a capybara. I told them no. Well, capybaras, the only way they'll go to the bathroom is if it's in water. So you have to have like a water litter box for them, like a pond, and I'm not doing that.
That's
an open sewer. It's just an open sewer.
Basically, it's basically like a giant fish tank because you have to put a filter in it to filter everything out, and it's just not worth it.
No.
Sora would still do it.
I know she would.
How about you? You want a capybara neighbor?
My neighbor has a pool we can use.
My cat's using
You had me at capybara.
I don't care that they're using it.
I did get to see because they called me over to their house and were showing me all because they're an animal rescue and they were showing me the animals that got seized. If you want to segue into the raccoon and squirrel shit, but they got seized and apparently it can occur that dwarfism can happen in capybaras. And one of the babies was like the size of like a Pomeranian.
Oh.
I didn't take a picture of it because I wasn't prepared for it. So I was just like, and I got to hold him.
Oh.
And they're just like, they're too used to humans. So the only thing we can do is give them to a rescue or a zoo. And they're like, you can't take it. So we're going to have to see if a zoo will take them. So
You're killing Sora.
I know. I wish I'd taken a picture, but it was one of those things like they just kind of dropped, not literally, they figuratively dropped it on me because they were like, "We have animals, you want to come see them?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then, but yeah, he was tiny. I made a joke because he looked like he had a cleft palate. No, his lip was just stuck, and I had to get his lip unstuck from his teeth. But
That's
yeah,
so cute.
that's about it. Capybaras can be ruthless, though. They are still the largest member of the rodent family. Don't let them fool you. They can still be ruthless.
They
Yeah.
they look like giant guinea pigs to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are considered the largest known member of the rodent family.
Yeah, and they're so chill to get along with everybody.
My first wife.
There you go.
I knew someone was gonna take that line.
I didn't know your first wife was a lawyer.
It's the updated Henny Youngman. Take my wife, please.
He said
Exactly.
rodent, not sewer rat.
Take
Harry,
my
come
wharf,
on now.
please.
Take my horse.
So, Sora,
Yes.
new and exciting.
Okay, this is gonna sound a bit lame, but it was exciting for me. So I've never had a T-bone steak before.
Okay.
Oh.
I don't know why. It wasn't by choice or because whatever. But so, they had a really good special on at the grocery store the other day, and I said, "Oh, I'll just buy one. Let's try it." And I found a really like brain dead simple way to cook it because that's how I like usually beef, and it was phenomenal. So I did the whole thing where you prep your oven for to 450, make sure the steak was out at least half an hour so it wasn't cold from the fridge, which was easy because it was between the time I bought it and got home. It
Mhm.
was more than that, so I could cook it right away. Pat it dry, salt and pepper, sear it a couple minutes on each side on a really hot skillet, and then put that in the oven for another maybe, I think I put it 6 minutes. And it just came off the bone, and I ate it all in one sitting. So for me, that was very exciting. I have now added another part of the cow to my repertoire.
Another piece of the cow. Yeah, there's a lot of good parts of the cow. I almost feel guilty for eating them.
This is how I like to cook because I know we have our resident foodie in Sanguine, and he does very elaborate, delicious sounding food. I don't have that. I love food and I love to consume it, but I don't always have. Yeah, like I just don't have the patience and dedication to sit and do that. Sometimes I do. Like it has to be for a specific recipe on a specific day. So like not for every meal. So when I find things like to really simple. I mean, this is a longer way than you would cook maybe other meats, but it turned out like for the first time to turn out so well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's
But
good.
man, are they expensive! Holy crap! And this was like when it was like on special, like half off the typical price.
Well, you know what a T-bone steak is? It's two steaks in one with a bone connecting them. So it's a filet mignon on one side, and it's what is it? A New York strip on the other side?
It's New York strip on the other side.
Yeah. So you have two different steaks, which kind of want different things. So you cooked it correctly, but anytime you try to cook a steak with a bone in it as a home chef, it adds a level of difficulty. So it's good that you paid attention and everything worked out okay, because it's a great piece. And also the porterhouse is when the filet mignon side is like bigger than some ratio of the New York strip side. I don't remember specifically what it is, but a T-bone and a porterhouse are basically the same thing.
Yeah, this is a porterhouse is like a portly T-bone on one side.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume because of the price of a T-bone steak here that a porterhouse is either only found in steakhouses like a restaurant, or you have to special order it from the butcher, because I've never seen that term in the regular grocery store.
Really, truly?
Yeah,
Because in Texas, you see porterhouse in the in Kroger all the time.
sirloin, strip loin, quick fry, like pan fry, like the really thin, flank steak. Those are the ones that are most common. Chuck.
Is ribeye
like
popular
this,
up there?
I'm not sure. Maybe. I don't know if I've seen. I feel like that might be. Now, mind you, I don't go to specialized grocery stores, so
Well, I don't either. I mean, the
it's like it's a
specialized
small it's a
place I go
smaller
to is
version
probably
of
Kroger.
a thing. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Unless
that's my excitement.
unless my friend who's in the rendering business gives me a phone call and says, "Hey, we've got some cheap meat down here."
Yeah. You definitely want to seek out and find a ribeye steak when you get a good price on one. You want to try that. It's also a really hard steak to screw up as long as you don't overcook it.
Absolutely.
It's a
Absolutely
it's
right.
a
It's an
tender
easy steak
it's a
to
tender
cook
piece of
well.
meat that's well marbled. It does not need more cooking to break it down. A ribeye is the easy favorite for most people. There are some people that like a few other steaks, but it's going to turn into a sanguine hour, and we don't need to do that right now. So
Sorry.
I'm going to start going on about my favorite, which is the New York strip steak, which nobody else likes. Nobody likes that steak.
Well, I recommend it to people because I actually find it to be easier to cook for a lot of people if they're just going to cook it in their kitchen than a lot of other steaks. It's a very forgiving steak.
It's a very easy steak.
It's a very forgiving
for a whole
steak.
bunch of people.
Yeah,
if you're
it's
doing
really
several
good.
things at once. Yeah.
The New York is there's a diner
Also
type
like
place here who does the New York steak and eggs. I'm
Mhm.
assuming that's probably what they use the New York thing, and that's delicious. I've never
almost
cooked it,
Yeah.
but I'm sure if that's the thing, then yeah, I agree. It's delicious. It's awesome.
Try the ribeye.
Yeah.
This is
try the
one of
ribeye,
these
though.
things.
The
Listen,
ribeye
I'm
is
going down,
amazing
you know.
flavor. Amazing flavor.
This is where Skep and I are going to disagree. If I had to pick one and only one steak, it would be the ribeye,
And I would pick the New York. But
and everybody would get along just fine because there would be no
It's a-
competition.
that's what makes America
But
great.
Skep, can you welcome our guest, please?
Absolutely. Love to. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody. And as soon as I fake my way through this and find the link and open it up, there it is, and mute the deal and go over to chat, I will go over and see who's in chat, and look who we have in chat. We really have some loyal people. You know, Badger is always here. And it's nice to see him tonight. And Raymond Lewis, another one, you know, super loyal. Thanks for coming out. Critical Thinkers Guild is here. Nice to see you. And I've been away from a couple weeks, so I don't know if Critical Thinker's been here before. But if this is your first time, welcome. Happy to have you here. And let's see who else. Cannibalistic Wizard, another one of our regulars. Every time, love to have you. And I'm actually looking for Assassin. I even know our people who show up. So we love you, chat. Thanks for coming out.
We know them so well that we even recognize when they're not there.
Right, exactly. Hey, where's Assassin?
Yeah. So
I was about to say this when Assassin would show up.
yeah, no, you just say his name 3 times in a mirror, and yeah, it's fine. See, I know that urban.
Oh, it's Chaos Archives.
Hi, Chaos. Also known as Critical Thinkers Guild.
Okay, so did you have anything quick, Skep, before we launch into stuff?
I just wanted to note that my father turned 97 on October 31st on Halloween. And I went down just the week before to celebrate with the rest of the family who was in town. And so it was a big celebration. And that's why I haven't been back. But I'm back now. And it's a pleasure to be with you tonight.
Yeah. With
Happy birthday. That's amazing.
with a full panel, we can spend 30 minutes just saying hello.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
We're like the ants.
So in case Jack has to take off, I'm going to do the story which I would never do without Jack first, if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So why are you coming over here? Go there. Okay. So you've been following the annals of Roman concrete, haven't you, Jack?
Sure.
I know what a concrete enthusiast you are, and people are always trying to figure out why in the hell Roman concrete is so awesome.
If this is what I think it is, I watched a History Channel documentary about why it lasted like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They theorized I once
Volcanic
heard the
ash.
theory that was volcanic ash that was mixed in, and that causes the that
It hardens. It's weird.
yeah
Right.
it causes a chemical reaction, and it helps with salt resistance.
Yeah, it does that too. Yeah.
Well, that's part of the story. There's more to it. So it's actually a mixture of that volcanic ash and lime. Now
That's
there's
what it was. That was the
there's
other
two
thing,
different forms of lime. There's basically like quicklime, and then there's sort of the slaked lime where they mix it with water and it becomes a little less caustic. Now, what's great about Roman concrete as opposed to regular concrete is that when it cracks, it actually can heal itself. Now you say, Harry, that is a remarkable claim that you just made. It is. What happens is when Roman concrete cracks, the lime that's in there tends to dissolve, and it when water gets in the crack. So it rains, water gets in the crack, and it literally just seals itself up. The water makes a mixture with the lime and the concrete, and it heals itself, and the cracks just disappear. Which is why you can have 2,000-year-old structures
That's
made out of
interesting.
Roman concrete. In fact, they have the
That
dome.
picture is that's the Pantheon, right? That's the dome of the Pantheon.
That's the dome of the Pantheon, and it's unreinforced concrete.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have domes of reinforced concrete with rebar. That is unreinforced concrete that's 2,000 years old.
I have stood under it. I have felt the walls there. It is it's very interesting.
But there,
Just as an aside, they actually have special code books for making structures out of unreinforced concrete. They have the general book, which is reinforced concrete, and then they have the unreinforced concrete, which you have to do a whole lot of other stuff.
or what Jack calls bedside reading. No, he keeps one next to his bed and one in the bathroom. 'Cause
Yes.
you never know when you're going to need something to distract you.
Light reading.
So the one part that's additional to what I just told you is they've done some experiments with the materials trying to duplicate it, to verify the theory, to see if the properties are the same. And what they found is if you have a mixture of the volcanic material, quicklime, and slaked lime, and you combine them under heat, you get the properties of Roman concrete. The heat is the last component because it actually forms different types of structures when you mix the
because there's
amalgamation of
some-
things under
there's
a
some-
temperature.
Endothermic reaction requires heat.
Yep. Good times.
Interesting.
I had Masick and the team, led by MIT civil engineer Linda Seymour, carefully studied 2,000-year-old samples of Roman concrete from the archaeological site of Pivernium in Italy. These samples were subjected to large area scanning electron microscopy and energy dispersive X-ray spectroscopy. And then they list Raman imaging. And you know what? I actually don't know how Raman imaging works. But they put like real science into this and then actually did the experiments. And only when you heated the mixture, they said first when the overall concrete is heated to high temperatures, it allows chemistries that are not possible if you only use slaked lime producing high temperature associated compounds that would not otherwise form. There you go, Jack. Just for you, a story about concrete.
Thank you. And you know how practical this is going to be in the modern age?
Not very.
Not at all.
Because health and safety will never let you mix those things at heat with a human anywhere near them.
Not only that, but to make that would probably be enormously expensive because it would involve heating up a giant concrete truck.
Well, yeah, heating giant vats of sodium hydroxide is not easy.
Well,
Safe.
it's calcium
I guess
oxide.
this,
Calcium oxide, I think.
is this calcium oxide? Okay, I thought this was the classic lime formula, the lye formula.
Quicklime or calcium oxide.
Calcium oxide. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
No, it's okay.
wrong chemical. Okay.
Mixing quicklime with water produces slaked lime or calcium hydroxide. So slaked lime is calcium hydroxide, quicklime is calcium oxide. For those playing along at home, this show just
Yeah.
became super interesting.
So it's not, instead of sodium hydroxide, it's calcium hydroxide.
Yep.
Which you think we're not going to talk about the chemistry of that.
No, we are absolutely not. Instead, we're going to talk about this. We could change the title of this show to bring out your dead weekly at this point, at the rate that awesome people are passing away.
No kidding.
I'm sure somebody's probably going to take that idea and make it work. Terry Garr passed away,
Terry Garr.
which makes me sad, but these things happen, unfortunately.
She was miserable.
We can just say thank you and bon voyage to Terry Garr. When I think of her, the first thing that always pops into my head is not Young Frankenstein. It's that episode of Star Trek with Robert Lansing that was supposed to be a pilot for a spinoff. And that never turned into a show. But I still kind of like the fact that Terry Garr was on Star Trek.
Yeah. The Star Trek connection.
The one that always comes to my mind first is always going to be Mr. Mom. I love that movie.
See, I've never seen that. And I actually had, until I was reminded of it, I've forgotten that she was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is not, in a sense, not an insult, the fact that I forgot her. Because she's kind of quirky and iconic. And the fact that I didn't remember her being in that movie meant that she kind of blended in and did her job in a way that didn't draw the Terry Garr-ness to my attention. Mm-hmm. In the case of the Star Trek episode, it was important for her to be there, but it would have been completely wrong for her to show up in Close Encounters and kind of steal the scene by just being her. There was enough of Richard Dreyfuss doing that. That movie has some issues associated with it. But anyway, thank you, Terry Garr.
She was amazing in Young Frankenstein.
She was.
I will say that.
Yes.
And that is my personal favorite Terry Garr performance. So
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's so many good choices.
Because I'm a superficial guy.
No, but actually anything you point at that she did, they're all good choices.
It's magic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, she also wasn't afraid to do like smaller things.
Yep.
Like she played a character in a Disney show called Adventures in Wonderland, which is a fever dream when you look it up. But I remember that show and I love that show.
She played it in her community theater.
Yeah.
Cool.
She would go out and like the little theater, you know, that's just in her little village where she lives.
Yeah, and it's like it was the thing that made
Very
it
cool
really,
lady.
really awesome was like she got famous, but she never got it, as the country saying goes. She never got too big for her britches.
Mm-mm.
She was always very well aware of the fact that she was an actress, so she did everything. Like I remember in Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme. If anyone else remembers that, welcome to my childhood. But yeah, no, like she was a cool ass lady. She did Sesame Street a bunch of times. I remember that.
Yeah. So, sci-fi fans, if there are any of you out there, Fifth Element is going to be on the big screen again.
All right.
So Fathom Events
Really?
is going to be doing one of their thing, and at various theaters around North America, you'll be able to go see the Fifth Element in a movie theater, which I
Just
think
ripping
sounds
good
pretty
fun.
freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
November
That is just
17th and November
ripping good
20th.
fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
The best acting role Mila Jovovich ever had.
Yeah. Multipass.
I mean, I
Iconic.
I'm not going to argue, but I love her. I love her in the Resident Evil.
Oh, I do too. Don't get me wrong. I love her too, but it's because it's like, it's like horror camp.
But she's perfect for Lilu, and really, well, doesn't say much, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well,
It's
she did a much better job of acting than she did in that when she was like brand new in Married with Children. I remember she was in that
yeah.
guest spot on Married with Children, and she really was not very good, but she didn't need to be.
No, not for Married with Children. She did, no.
No. But anyway, Fathom Events, November 17th, November 20th. Check theaters near you and see if you can find one, because this might be worth leaving the house for.
Oh, what's that supposed to mean?
What it's a lot of times everything is home. I mean, you can have people just bring you food, and entertainment just comes right in. There are far fewer reasons to leave the house, but this seems
don't
like
all
something
look
that
that
might
way.
be worth, putting on your clean socks and going outside.
I went outside 2 weeks ago.
I would even wear the good sneakers to watch this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good, but clean clothes good? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, shower good. Yeah.
I was about to say you may want to wear like a poncho to the movie theater, depending on who's gone to see it before you, just because you never know. Some people have some reactions to that opera scene that just that airs on Dangerous.
Okay. So, did anybody
That is a magical movie.
did
I was
anybody
amazing.
take a look at this article that I posted and ask people to look at?
I did not look at that article. I heard the other stuff where it's
Okay.
like, it's like the size of Edinburgh or something like that.
Yeah, they found a
Yeah.
huge Mayan city, and what's kind of
I had
cool
read about this.
is that the data was basically a set of LiDAR data. They were just saying, hey, what's out here in this forest, right? And a PhD student went through this data set using some modern techniques, was able to go, wait a second, there's like hidden structures in this data.
Right.
And that's how they actually found this thing, which is why when we talked, Jack, about mass storage and why you archive things, you never really know what you're going to get out of a set of scientific data. It can be a decade later or 2 decades or more. That kind of data is actually really important. And if you're an archivist and you're entrusted with something, you never know how important something's going to be, even if it's 50 years old. So this is a perfect example of why you save data and you don't just throw it all away and assume that the new data will be better.
There's a rule of thumb that I learned when I was first really getting into keeping mass storage. I mean, big mass storage for a coast to coast bank, and that's that of all the data that you archive, 99% of it you'll never need. You'll never look it up. You'll never do anything with it. And that 1% that you look up will absolutely be the most important thing in the world for you to get that data. That's the banking business, just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Everything's about the money.
Yeah. But like you said, the city is cool. They uncovered the hidden complex called Valeriana using LiDAR, a type of laser survey that maps structures buried under vegetation. They believe it is second in density only to Shemp, thought to be the largest Mayan site in ancient Latin America.
Oh, what is that? Coco? What is it?
Calacamul.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the big honkin' site that they found down in Maya country down there.
Harry.
The team discovered 3 sites in total in a survey area the size of Scotland's capital. So that's the area that they surveyed. Yeah, it's pretty darn cool.
I love it says when one archaeologist browsed data on the internet.
Well, the data sets are out
part.
there. No, a lot of these data sets are out there for people to use.
Yeah, you can. The thing is that this is all GIS data. So there are lots of websites where you can find GIS data from all over the world. And it can be LiDAR data like this. It can be satellite imagery, or it can be, and it can cover any wide array of different places, including like your own town or something like that. There are a lot of what are called clearinghouses, which just cover all of the data available for any given state.
Yeah, I was working on a project involving GIS, and I downloaded some data sets from the state of California that had highly detailed maps of just like every data point, every GIS data point that they had in California. That thing was so many gigabytes. It took like 30 minutes to load on my computer at the time, and scrolling was almost impossible. I mean, you really needed a high-end workstation just to look at California.
What year was that, Harry?
2013, I think. 2012-ish.
Think about working with GIS data back in 1988 on a Sun workstation.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have had the number of data points I was looking at, and by necessity.
We had a lot. We had amazing amounts of data for that time. Absolutely was data bound.
Well, what you would have probably been working with back then would have been shape files, which are much smaller than LiDAR data. LiDAR data has...
no, these were files that we designed ourselves.
Oh.
Well,
no, I'm talking about what type of information is within the actual GIS was shape files, which is
right. I think we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah. So shape files would be, you have a polygon that's made up of several points, whereas LiDAR is going to be a grid formed of like pixels that are representative of an area that's like 1 square meter over the course of basically your entire state, which is why it's so big. And each pixel has a floating point value.
Yeah, because that makes the math more funner. But LiDAR is pretty amazing. But this city they're talking about, they were saying that it probably had 30 to 50,000 people at its peak in like 750 AD.
It may have been that big. It actually may have been much bigger, and probably was a hub city. If it's anything like its cousin across about 15 miles away, it will have some little hub villages, large like hamlets that are more than just villages, that are kind of like micro cities themselves, hanging off of it. If it's true to that, it really was quite a big, thriving civilization, and I think that disease drove them. Was the end of that empire? I believe the disease theory.
Possibly, yeah. But if you think about these people as, they were more or less as smart as we were, didn't have a lot of distractions, and they actually lived in a place that could support, in terms of the food, the number of people that they're talking about. It was a pretty gentle place for human beings to live, considering they didn't have a whole lot of natural enemies. It was only until those microbes showed up that things started to go south.
It's the darn bacillus.
Yeah. Got rid of the Martians too, but though we digress. Let's see. So I've got a whole bunch of IT related things. Let's see.
Nerd.
We could lean into the nerd stuff, but let's talk about Buzz Aldrin first.
What a cool guy.
So Brigadier General Buzz Aldrin endorses Donald J. Trump for president of the United States. Now, that's not really what we're here to talk about.
Shit themselves.
Everybody shit themselves. I mean, as an aside, if you look at the people that are endorsing Trump, the public figures, it really is quality over quantity. I mean,
Are you saying that Buzz Aldrin contributed more to America than Cardi B? Is that what you're maintaining?
I'm saying that the fact that the cast of the Avengers movies is supporting Kamala is not as impressive to me as one Buzz Aldrin.
Now, to be fair, we're gonna middle of the road this shit.
No, we can be fair.
Donald has also been backed by what was one of Kanye's exes, the stupid shaved head one.
Something Rose.
Yeah, and she's
girl.
Yeah, she's not exactly someone to be proud of.
Amber Rose.
Yeah, that's her name.
She sounds nice. Her parents gave her such a pretty name.
That's her OnlyFans name. But anyway,
no. But I think in terms of if you want to pick sides, having RFK Jr. You don't like RFK Jr.?
I think the worst thing that happened to the Kennedy family was JFK Jr. dying after the initial, because RFK is nothing like his father, and he's got a little screws loose. I don't like RFK Jr. very much.
Yeah, I think having Elon on your side is not such a bad thing.
Elon's getting way too big for his britches, though. He thinks way too goddamn highly of himself.
Well, that may be true.
I'll pass that on to him.
That may be true, and probably also inevitable.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, but it's one of those things like they all have shit people backing them. They all have amazing people backing them. Buzz Aldrin is one of the amazing people I have a massive amount of respect for.
Well, okay,
Salute you, sir.
So the Elon thing is you're basically character checking him. I'm thinking in terms of his accomplishments and the things he sort of represents. And
accomplishments that he paid other people to do that he didn't actually do himself.
Well, you could say the same thing about Howard Hughes, but having the right guy at the top really does matter.
Yeah, it's a big deal. You don't just sit there and watch the clouds go by. No. What Elon Musk has done is especially valuable, and if you're not saying, if you're not at least respecting it, I think you're missing something important.
I respect the hustle, but the man who said Cybertruck will be $30,000 and it's not. The robots will be $30,000, which means they're probably be about $200,000 when they come out. The man who warned about AI but now wants to put robots in everybody's house.
Yeah. Well, there is Elon the salesman, and actually, he's really not a very good salesman.
No, he's not.
He tries to be a showman, but that's a problem too. But he's certainly,
unfortunately, he thinks he's funny.
He's certainly bright, hardworking, and successful. And I think that
but not funny.
Yeah, he didn't design every circuit of every single subsystem on those rockets, but it is largely his vision that's pushed that company. And it all started with him working a lot of 20-hour days
and
in a row.
He's in on the important decision. Believe me, he is in there in the trough with the ears back.
He's not passive.
No, not at all. He's, if anything, he's probably quite aggressive.
But the thing is if you replaced Elon with somebody else, because the idea is that if it's not him and it's everybody else doing the work below him, then theoretically he should be replaceable. But I guarantee you, if you tried to replace him, Tesla would go under within a few years.
Okay, here's the parallel. You look at what's going on with the Space Launch System and Artemis and all of the delays and all of the problems and the lack of innovation and the slow rate at which everything is happening. The reason why SpaceX is behaving differently than these other companies that are struggling, I think, is Elon. Yes, he didn't create all that stuff, but it's the fact that he is driving things and the way he's driving things that makes the difference in terms of how this stuff is getting done. Now, I'm sure there are unsung people out there in SpaceX that are making a lot of fantastic things happen, but he's still the guy that hired those people. And if they weren't getting the job done, he'd still be the one that fires them. So the people who work for SpaceX do not get paid a lot of money. Most of them are doing it because they love the work and they love the stock options. They're either going to be very poor or very rich at some point. But, though I digress. But Buzz Aldrin is awesome. Brigadier General, PhD in astronautics. One thing I did not know about Buzz Aldrin was that he had this idea for, they call it the Mars cycler or the Aldrin cycler. Skep probably already knows what I'm talking about. But he came up with a concept for getting us, having a way of getting back and forth to and from Mars more effectively than just throwing a lot of chemical propulsion at it to try to get there. So what he does is he has a vehicle that essentially shuttles back and forth between Mars and the Earth using the gravity of each to make the voyage faster. So you can actually make, because this thing is continually slingshotting to keep its speed up, you can actually make the trip in half the time you would otherwise. Let me see. Why can I not find it? Okay, so here's
So this craft is going wildly fast, and it's just using the gravitation of each body to do a figure-8 loop, basically.
Yep. So here's an image of what it's actually doing. So you take a small craft and you actually rendezvous with this, and then you have your small craft detach when you get to your destination. So you can see the Mars cycler. It says disembark. The crew gets off. Now this gives you a 5-year voyage, basically, from the time you leave Earth to the time you get back. So crew disembarks. They go off to Mars. The cycler continues to spin around and pick up speed. See, we're going by Earth. There's an encounter, but there's no crew on board. Okay. And actually, this is all based on math that Buzz Aldrin did originally. So the crew gets on board the cycler, and then they basically head back to Mars. And it's just constantly going back and forth between the two. This was what Aldrin thought would work, to essentially take advantage of the relative placement of the two planets to come up with a system to get a lot of people and things to and from Mars over and over again. And this uses a lot less fuel than any other
Wow.
approach you can come up with.
That is just amazingly ingenious. You know, he was known as the guy who knew orbital mechanics better than anybody. There were two classes of, orbital mechanics experts among the Apollo astronauts. There was Buzz Aldrin and everybody else.
Yeah.
He was really an
So-
especially good mind.
So the problem with this, there's a few little difficulties with this. So the first problem here is that when you go from Earth to try to connect your small craft to the cycler, you have to approach it at really high speed.
Yeah.
And you are burning you just fuel like crazy. And if for some reason something went wrong and you missed, you would be SOL. you would not be in a good place, because you would be in the middle of nowhere, rapidly
With
heading
no way
away
home.
from everything with
Yeah,
with
right.
like no way home.
Well, also, how do you control the G-forces inside the ship? Because are they doing it for a while?
Actually, the Mars Cycler ship, the way it's arranged, produces one Earth gravity for the people
Okay.
on board.
That's good, because it's like I wouldn't want to put anybody through that hell of being anything higher
Yeah.
than Earth gravity, because that would be a freaking nightmare.
Yeah. So
How does it produce that?
produce the gravity?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh.
Come on, Harry, you're supposed to be prepared for this stuff.
I don't
Come on
have that queued up. I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember which. The thing essentially is accelerating, and then it flips around as it approaches the other planet. I think it's just the acceleration that they've got going.
Really? That's enough to give them 1G for how
I'm
long?
trying to remember. I don't, like I said, I don't have that part of it dialed in.
Can't be for very long.
I just start asking Harry hard questions. It's like,
Yeah.
how does it do this, Harry? Come on, man.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
first of
just
all,
try-
let's
I'm
make
just
this
trying to
big enough that
visualize it.
my
I
old
know.
eyes can actually see the darn thing.
Oh, there's writing.
Yeah, there's writing. Aldrin's system, but we probably
Screaming with
shouldn't
old
get bogged down in this right now, if that's okay.
It's okay. I was curious, because it's like, because I'm assuming they have to be in that circle for like in the ship, in the circle for an amount of time. Like, they're not just getting shoved in there when it's about to launch.
No. In fact, they are not. Nobody is in the cycler when it launches. You have to
Okay.
actually you send the cycler out first, unmanned, to build up speed, and then as
Yeah.
it circles back around, it has an encounter with Earth. Then you get on, and then you take the express train to Mars, and then get off.
So it's basically before it kicks itself out of Earth's gravity, you're loaded onto it, and then it kicks itself out of Earth's gravity, like a slingshot almost.
I'm not sure I follow what you just said.
Okay,
But I think that's
so-
probably me being dumb.
No, it's not you being dumb. Good Lord, Harry, shush. You're nowhere near dumb.
Okay, so what was it you were saying?
Okay, so what you're saying is, when the ship is initially launched, it's launched without people, and it does the circular path around Earth's gravity to build up speed.
Yeah, it does a
Second
gravity
ship.
assist, yeah.
Yeah. Then a second ship is sent out. Cross fingers, pray to Jesus. Links up with the ship that's already out there to drop the crew off.
Right.
Once the crew is on, does the crew, then the ship kicks itself out of that cycle to kick it out toward Mars?
The ship docks with the cycler.
Yeah.
The cycler continues on, and then the ship undocks near Mars and heads down to the Martian surface.
Okay, so it's one of those, it's like, so the ship that has the crew on it connects to the cycler to get the speed
Yeah.
up to go?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay, that's
And
what I was
what's
curious
beautiful
about.
is that Aldrin came up with this without supercomputers. He did all of the hard thinky bits with his gray matter. I mean, obviously there was things that computational aids,
Yeah.
but he was a smart enough guy. You know, he wasn't just some meathead with a slide rule who went to the moon, second guy to stand on the moon. He was also like a legit brilliant guy who did hard work and was also a PhD. And when I think about, people who are heroes, to me, it's guys like this.
Yeah.
Balls of steel, giant swinging balls of steel, and a brain to match.
But it's like, so I'm going to ask a question you may not be able to answer, Harry, and I apologize.
It's okay.
So, how do I say this? If you already have a ship that has to pick up enough speed to connect with the cycler to get everything going, to take you to Mars, how much fuel does that actually save if you still got to get people up there, get everything to connect, line everything up, and then go? Like, that's my thing. Like, if you already have to get the fuel, use the fuel
to meet the cycler.
Yeah, to get the second rocket up after you get the cycler up there.
Right.
And then link with it, and then make sure you're connected and keep speed with it, and then go. And so it's like, how do you, like, how...
Well, this really isn't as much about saving fuel as it is about saving time.
Okay. That was the other question. Okay.
Because what you're doing is, since this guy's continually slingshotting back and forth between the two planets, he's going fast. All you have to do is catch up to him and say, "Hey, buddy, can I bum a ride?" And you get there in half the time you would otherwise.
So, is this built also on the insinuation that either the ship that connects to the cycler has spare fuel in it for once you get to Mars, it can then, when you're trying to leave Mars, build up speed to get out?
Yeah,
or is
you would
there already
need.
supposed to be enough?
Well, you'd have to do that, or you'd have to fuel up on Mars, which is the giant starship thing that launched. Elon's vision for this is to literally take giant ship, send it to Mars, have it land, and then have it take off. And then they say, well, where's the fuel going to come from? Well, it's supposed to come. The plan that he has is that you're actually going to mine and produce fuel while you're there. Okay. So they're going to take electric power from either solar or nuclear, and they're going to take water ice and the carbon dioxide that's in the atmosphere, and they are going to create liquid oxygen and methane on the surface of Mars and refill the Starliner from that.
Okay. How? But that would have to be self-automated system, or there would have to be a team on that other ship.
Well, you would send a lot of this stuff ahead of time, the materials and people, and then you would set up this whole, what he envisions is this whole ecosystem where big-ass starships carrying lots of stuff would show up on Mars, and in that stuff there could be the thing to refuel it.
Okay. How long is the trip to Mars normally without the cycler?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember how many. It's not quick.
Yeah, I know it's not quick, and 5 years is fast.
Well, 5 years is the total voyage.
Okay,
there
so it's
on Mars and then back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see what the internet says.
And how long does it take to get to Mars? Well, it depends on whether it's optimally positioned relative to the Earth and a lot of other factors.
If you had a fast enough ship, you could get there in a week.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You would need a lot of potential energy in that ship.
You got to floor it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the big one on the right.
So space.com says that the round trip normally, because this is what it says. Have you ever wondered how long it takes to get to Mars? If you wanted to make a one-way trip to Mars, it would take about 9 months, but round trip, all in all, would take 21 months. As you need to wait about 3 months for Earth and Mars to be a suitable location to be able to make a trip back home, according to NASA. In reality, the answer isn't straightforward. So why...
Is that with a connection or no connection?
That's
layover.
That's from space.com
layover on
and
the moon.
just NASA.
Yeah.
So what? So it's supposed to cut down speed, but it still takes 5 years. But this says it would take 21 months.
Yeah, but there isn't really one answer, and a lot of the time in the cycler isn't. It's basically you waiting for the cycler to come back around. The actual time spent traveling, it cuts it in half. Okay. Now the speed at which you can get to Mars, as soon as you get away from, that's like with chemical propulsion. If you have a large ion drive, say, I don't know, driven by a 1 megawatt nuclear reactor with lots of ion drive, you could get to Mars way faster because you essentially be burning halfway there and halfway, burning in one direction and braking the rest of the time. You can get to Mars way faster if you just have different propulsion. So the question you're asking is how fast can you get there with chemical propulsion today? And the answer is it's many months.
Okay.
And it sucks.
Okay, so the cycler has to be up there for a time to build.
The cycler just stays up there. Yeah, and in fact, it goes out and does a whole cycle of it before you ever even put a human on it.
Okay, so it's just a constant like
Yeah.
like on the outside of the atom.
It's
neurons
literally
that
just
go-
a shuttle service that drops you
Gotcha.
off near the Earth
Okay.
and near Mars and goes back and forth forever.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood stuff. Okay,
I
that makes
didn't
sense.
explain it
Okay.
very well. But you know how
Right.
you're not going to get to Mars? You're not going to get to Mars with a solar sail because they tried putting up that satellite with a solar sail to test it, just to see if you could harness enough photons and just move things that way. Well,
And they found out that the currents of photons are much more chaotic than they
yeah.
thought.
In
Right.
an update last week, the space agency admitted that the solar sail is still slowly tumbling. Really words you don't want to hear describing your main propulsion.
No, it sucks to be you.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say that this has turned out to be a dramatic failure.
Yeah, that's Akfe.
I mean, luckily it's not a lot of money and nobody's going to die over this. And I hope they try again, but it's proving that making a solar-powered sail is not as easy as everybody thought it might be. It's
Well,
turning
yeah,
out
but
to be bloody hard.
But it's still good information to have. So the
Yeah.
failure sucks, but it's like that's still. It's better to have tried it and not lost any life and not lost a lot of money than it is to try it and then get really royally screwed.
Yeah.
And it's still like I had Tron visions of the first Tron when they did the solar sail thing because I was like, oh, it's
Yeah.
the butterflies. But no,
Tron
not
was
that
pretty
way.
awesome.
I love Tron. I love the sequel.
Tron
too.
was amazing. Yeah, Tron 2 was good too.
I was so good, and I hated when people were
Yeah,
like, "It's
music
not."
by Wendy Carlos.
Right.
And then Daft Punk in the sequel.
Wendy Carlos, OG.
Except on the album, the vinyl for the soundtrack for the first Tron, there's one entry by Journey.
Ooh, hey,
I think it's called Only Solutions or something by Journey. Because it's like, here's this whole album of just Wendy Carlos stuff and then Journey. God.
I think we know how someone feels about.
I actually have some respect
Journey.
for Journey. Journey's guitarist is a fine guitarist. But and other than that, it's Steve Perry, steam turbine lungs singing pop.
Well, do you remember, what was it? The first movie adaptation of Dune?
Mm-hmm.
And you're watching Dune, there's all this music and stuff, blah, blah, blah. Kyle MacLachlan's chewing up scenery, everything's fine. And then suddenly, as they're breaching the shield wall on the sandworms, Toto starts playing.
Yeah.
Fucking Toto. What?
Wait, was it the Africa song?
No.
No.
'Cause that
Was it
would've
Hold
been
the
phenomenal.
Line?
No, it wasn't
No.
Hold the Line.
I
People.
think it was an original. I think it was an original song.
Yeah, it was a song for
Wow.
the movie.
Disappointing.
Yeah. It wasn't Rosanna or anything. Yeah.
And Harry, technically, the original Tron had 2 songs by Journey.
Oh,
Only
did it?
Solutions and one that's just called 1990s theme. There we go.
I thought I was doing pretty well just remembering that Only Solutions was on there.
No, you
Good
did-
job,
you
Harry.
really-
Good job, both of you.
Weirdly, I've been finding people have been giving me vintage audio stuff lately. In the last
Vintage
month,
audio is fun.
I've
I love
received.
it.
I've got a new Pioneer tuner coming to me soon. And somebody sent me a picture of it today. Said, "Would you like this Pioneer tuner?" I'm like,
Take
does,
it.
does the Pope shit in the woods? Yes, I would absolutely
Fuck
love
yeah,
this new
man.
Pioneer tuner.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'll see if its little capacitors are still working. Yeah,
And if it's not, it's goddamn pretty, and that's all that fucking matters.
yeah. Hell yes, I
listen.
want a Pioneer
You
tuner.
can, you can take that and have it bench tested and have any component in there replaced.
Yep.
Those are very, very serviceable.
And Harry, apparently the reason why Toto was on the first Dune is because the entire soundtrack for the first Dune was done by Toto minus the lead singer.
So it was only.
Yeah, that was when Joe Phillips was in rehab. That's true. That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
I wonder if that's a choice that David Lynch made, or they didn't give him final directorial.
I
over.
would be amazed if David Lynch didn't throw a fucking fit if they did.
Wow.
Because he produced, he wrote the prologue song, David Lynch did, for the soundtrack.
So it's all Toto.
Yeah.
No wonder I don't like any of it.
But yeah, no, the main theme was produced by Brian Eno, Robert Jur Eno, and Daniel Lanau. So the Enos were both from Toto. So there you go.
Okay.
Came out in the 80s. We're all old and dying now.
Well, Brian Eno did good work with the Talking Heads.
True. You're not wrong.
Music for airports.
Hey, shush you.
Hey, no, I actually have that. No, I actually own that. The Unlikely Story of Toto's. No, that's an album. I'm not being facetious. It's called Music for Airports by Brian Eno.
Yeah. Did you think he was being sarcastic?
Brian Eno, wasn't he one of the people who did a lot of atmospheric stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. That was kind of his thing.
Yeah, The Unlikely Story of Toto's soundtrack for David Lynch's.
Talking Heads, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, he wasn't part of the main crew, but he was.
Yeah, he was a touring musician though with them, and on their last and most famous tour, Stop Making Sense. He really was a key part of that.
He also produced Speaking in Tongues, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. I
Talking
forgot
that tongue.
producer too.
Here's Music for Airports 1. We're not going to play very much of it.
I was going to say we're going to copyright struck real fucking fast.
There you go. And that's
that's
Music for
enough.
Airports. All right. So which direction would you guys like to go in?
Hell.
Hell?
East.
More tech.
Yeah, more tech's good. I'll go
Okay.
with more
Well, at
tech.
some point, I do actually want to talk about the Isles of Floating Garbage thing that happened at the Trump thing, but we can do tech. Let's see. All right.
Trump is good at taking lemons and making lemonade.
Yeah.
I saw a joke post earlier on Twitter that said that Trump shows up to rally in giant squirrel suit.
All
I don't
right.
see any way he wins.
So, who owns IP addresses? I wanted to just talk a little bit about the fine internet. So, who owns IP addresses? Because remember, we were talking about what was it, ICANN, right? Serenity.
Yep.
And those bastards are really involved with the domain name stuff. So
Yeah.
you can register a domain with them, and then yada yada. You get all that stuff registered through ICANN and its little subordinates. But what about the IP addresses? So when you get like the IP addresses for your house, typically, they only give you like one address from the ISP. Most people only have one address.
Yep.
There's not that many IP addresses out there in terms of IPv4. It's only like 4 billion addresses, isn't that right, Skep?
Yeah.
Unsigned 64-bit
that's the right
integer.
word.
It's about 4 billion-ish addresses, which is not a lot when you consider how many computers and devices and different things there are in the world. And it's exacerbated by the fact that a whole bunch of these things have already sort of been handed out at the beginning. In the beginning, they took the whole top half of all the addresses available, 2 billion of those, and divided them up into 128 blocks. Okay, 128 blocks of addresses totaling 2 billion. And those are allocated to first come, first served, right? So who actually has all of these ginormous blocks of addresses? So General Electric has one. BBN Planet has one.
USC.
There's a whole bunch of military things that have them. So the Army Information Systems has a bajillion of these addresses, right? IBM, AT&T, Xerox PARC, Digital Equipment, and obviously those got bought. Apple has one. So you have to be like a pretty big player. So like At Home has a bunch of them. I don't even know who picked that up. That was probably picked up by Comcast. But these are all the things that were handed out. So 128 of these blocks went to these big players. Kiss those goodbye temporarily until somebody wants to sell them.
Wow.
Let me see. Eli Lilly and Company, a fine stock. Okay. And then you look at Class B networks. So those are basically little blocks of 64,000, and they partitioned up a big chunk of the internet for those. So like so let me go to the first list. So of these ones, these are like smaller things like universities, Carnegie Mellon, Lawrence Berkeley, Ford Motor
University of
Company
Maryland.
has one of them, right? So back in the day, you would just write a letter and say, hi, I'm Ford Motor Company. I'm going to have a bunch of computers. Give me a bunch of addresses. So the reason we've been running out of these damn things is that the classical IPv4 addresses just aren't that many of them. And a whole bunch of them got gobbled up by big players, so they're not even in circulation. So screw Bitcoin.
Yeah, no kidding.
IPv4 addresses, that's where the real fun's at. And the price of these things, as they've been traded, they've literally turned into a commodity.
A commodity. It's because that's what always happens. You know,
so look at what's
the
happened.
invisible hand building wealth. That's the invisible hand building wealth. It's all those little trust agreements that people make when they buy and sell to one another.
Well, back in 2015, you're looking at about $10 per address, right? So if you want to buy what's called a Class C, which is essentially 256 addresses, you've got A.B.C.X, where X are the numbers that you get. That, means you get 256 times this $10 or a scant $2,500. No big deal, right? Buy your own block addresses, they're yours forever. Right. But now that price has gone up to, $60, $70, $80 or more. Some of these are selling for even more than that. Because there just aren't that many of the damn things to go around. I wish I'd gotten my hands on like one of those /Bs back in the day, because if I picked up 64,000 of those, I could just start selling them off, and like I said, forget Bitcoin, forget domain names squatting. Just give me a bunch of IPv4 addresses.
Absolutely. You could dole them out.
So I know this is a question that nobody particularly asked, but I figured since we brought up ICANN, I should probably mention the IP address part of it. So when you go to your ISP and ask for more addresses, that's why they charge you a ridiculous amount of money to get additional ones, because they're actually super valuable. So, which is why this sort of thing surprised me. So the IP addresses are actually handed out regionally. So like North America has like a bunch of them that they can hand out to people, and South America does, and Europe does. So there's these different things that essentially work underneath the worldwide organizations to hand these addresses out and handle re-registering any sales and things that happen. So I was surprised when one of the guy who's in charge of the Asia branch of things started saying that IPv6, which is the thing that fixes this shortage of addresses, might already be irrelevant. It's like, irrelevant how? We still have this impending disaster where we're running out of addresses and there aren't enough of them. Right. And he's claiming that the thing that fixes it isn't going to be necessary. And I think that this might be just because they really like these things being expensive and having a lot of power deciding who gets these things.
What is V6 going to do to the value of their addresses, address blocks?
Eventually, it'll render them like being worth nothing.
Yeah.
What part of Asia?
Declining value.
What part of Asia is he from? Is he from China? Because that would tell you how much I believe his ass.
I don't know, but I think...
The xenophobic moment.
I think he is. Sorry, I didn't actually think of where he's from.
Dude, I remember when I was working at the ISP I was working at.
Yeah.
They were talking about IPv6 back then, and people were like... Because I worked on the business side of working, like, for providing for, like, smaller businesses to medium businesses. And just the panic when they announced IPv6.
Yeah.
There are people going, what? Well, are we going to lose ours? No, you have one. You're fine. Get off my phone.
Well, the same Asianic people later in the same month put out another blog entry saying, what are the realities of trying to build a city that only uses IPv6? And they're talking about China. Okay, like what happens if we build this? I mean, in a nutshell, for people listening, if there's anybody listening at this point, the problem with IPv6 is if you only have an IPv6 address and the thing you want to connect to only has an IPv4 address, it's actually kind of hard for you to connect to it in an easy way, the way that you're sort of used to connecting to things. There's ways that you can get a web page from it, and there's translators and things that sort of make it work. But unless everybody basically takes the plunge,
right,
you end up with problem. Like two different classes of addresses. You end up with the inferior v6 ones that can't actually do everything, and then the IPv4 ones that are like the legacy ones that have stature. I don't trust these people. I don't trust these AppNIC people at all, because I feel like they have a conflict of interest. I think they like the economy the way it is.
Well, here's the thing. So, from what the internet says, the founding members are, like, AT&T is in there, which is understandable, but there's also China Telecom, China Network Services, China Internet Network Information, China Internet Corporation Limited, China Engineering Technology Informers Network. There's Comsats, which is Pakistan. There's CS Communication Corporation Limited, which is Thailand. There's Datacom Company, which is Mongolia, which is technically China, because China controls Mongolia. There's Australia, which, let's face fact, a lot of corporations in Australia are owned by China, so that doesn't count. Only one of them is Taiwan. And that's the Asia Pacific Online Services Incorporated. And then there's another one from Japan. And everything else is Hong Kong, Thailand, Australia, and China. Because Hong Kong's China now, which makes it even funnier. Most of the small members of the group are either Singapore or Hong Kong, which once again, that's China, because China controls Singapore. And then the smallest members are either Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, China, or Australia. So, yeah.
Well, like my home network has IPv6, and it's not even like that big a flex, because if you go to your ISP, they will typically just give you a block of IPv6 addresses that has thousands and thousands of addresses in it. I mean, like a huge number of addresses, and you can get them for free. Eventually, that's just going to be the way everything connects. And I think, if you have a home network and stuff, and, you've got a little bit of hobby time, by all means, invest in getting that sort of thing set up. Because as you move forward, more and more stuff is going to use this. And there are some things, other advantages that have nothing to do with just the size of the address space. There's some things in terms of security, like with IPv6, there's ways that you can say that you can sort of prove that you are who you say you are. So when a packet arrives somewhere, you not only know that it hasn't been tampered with, but you know who sent it. And that is a thing that you really can't do with IPv4.
Yeah, no, you can't do that with IPv4. No,
so you could, if a lot of problems happen where people are threatening the United States and screwing up a lot of our infrastructure, it would be much easier to protect our interests if we were using IPv6 than IPv4. That's kind of a big statement, but I'm going to stand by it.
But, the thing with implementing something like IPv, not as bad as you think.
Yeah.
It's not really as bad as you think. Things are so modular. It's so easy to swap stuff out. I see how I would approach doing that.
Yeah, but you're logical, Skep.
The specific steps I would take.
Well, you run them both side by side is what you do. And you run them in what's called a dual stack is what it's called. So you have the V4 stack, V6. And by the way, the IPv6 has 128-bit addresses, which is why there are so many of them. It effectively, you could have one address for every square centimeter of the surface of the Earth. I mean, it's you're covered. All the nanites can have their own IP address.
Yeah, but the thing is like, you all are logical. As someone who's had to deal with the small business side of people, they're not. The minute anybody started talking about IPv6, they all started panicking. I remember like when that first got announced when I was working there, we were getting phone calls back to back to back to back to back, going, "Am I going to lose my IP address?" And just panicking. No one would Google anything. No one would do anything. No one would actually listen to the news. Like, you all are like. I'd like to think was
and you know why? It's because what they thought was my computer's going to stop working.
Yeah. There was the Y2K bull crap again.
They're mostly just worried they wouldn't be able to get to their porn, but
basically,
But that was network traffic.
But that was the thing, is like, I'm not worried about IPv6. I don't think anybody here is worried about IPv6 because we could ask you or Scap. So, but it's one of those things like the normies who don't want to read anything. They're the ones who are going to cause the problems, and that's always how it goes, is because they don't want to actually read anything or look into anything, and then they take the sensationalist headlines from places that may not exactly be the most up and up on their information, or who want to create their own. Because that's even a picture of a supposed Chinese city in that little article, and I know that's not what that looks like.
So, Serenity, I think I did a bad job of presenting this. It was logical to me, but I'm a little too close to it. That I should have mentioned the motivation first, not now. The thing is, it's getting bloody expensive, and the reason I'm mentioning this is, A, it's going to start costing you money if you do nothing. So kind of keep your eyes open. Just keep this in the back of your mind. And B, there are people in this world that are actively trying to stop progress because they like things the way they are. That's the takeaway that I should have framed it that way to begin with, because I realize as we're talking, it's like nobody's understanding what the hell Harry's saying or why Harry's saying what he's saying.
Human greed is a
So shall we move on?
We can.
Okay, let me see.
Walk for 4 hours if you want. I can walk
Let's see. So I know how much you love database humor, Skep.
No.
Okay, so geeky license plate earns hacker $12,000 in parking tickets. So a California man decided that
I've heard of this.
You've heard of this? Well, I only
Yes.
just heard of it. So
Fantastic.
he decided to get a vanity license plate called null. Now, null essentially in databases refers to not just a value of 0, but a value of like it has no value. There is no value associated with this variable.
Right.
It's literally nothing.
And so what he thought was that if he just had the license plate null, if he were to get a ticket or an infraction or whatever, they'd fill it out and put null, and then that would end up in a database, and hopefully he would avoid having to pay the ticket because it would essentially bork the database. Unfortunately, what actually ended up happening was every time there was an error in the system where somebody misentered something and a search would fail, it would end up
this
coming
goes
back
into
with
the
null,
account.
and it would get credit charged to him. So before he realized it, instead of 0 tickets, he had $12,000 worth of tickets that were not his attributed to his car.
That is.
See,
Oh,
ladies
funny.
and gentlemen, this is what happens when you're just smart enough to be stupid.
Yeah.
This is
No.
what that is.
Do you know his justification for using the word null on his license plate?
Oh, I would love to hear it. What was it?
He wanted to have a accompanying license plate to his wife, so he had one for him that
Null
said
and void?
null and void because
Yeah.
they're both lawyers.
Nice.
Oh, well, okay, so his was not the I'm technologically intelligent. It was I thought it would be funny and not realizing what the F was going to happen. Okay, that one I'm fine with.
I'm surprised he was allowed. Like, don't
No,
you
you-
have to get it through it run like here you have to go through a check.
No, he did actually intend to try and cheat the system.
Oh,
but-
okay, then
Yeah,
fuck
this
him.
is. I think your person might be a different person because he's saying here. Let's see.
It says
It's the story of a security researcher known as Drugi, not a lawyer, who presented his experience at the recent DEF CON conference in Las Vegas. Drugi decided that his new vanity plate should read null. While he did this mainly for giggles, he told the audience that there was an ulterior motive, as reported by Mashable. I was like, I'm the shit, he joked to the crowd. I'm going to be invisible. Instead, I got all the tickets.
As you should, because you're just smart enough to be stupid.
Oh, good. They actually referenced the Bobby Tables, my favorite XKCD comic.
Nice.
Hi, this is your son's school. We're having some computer trouble. Oh dear, did he break something in a way? Did you really name your son Robert? Robert,
God.
quote, parentheses, semicolon, drop table students.
Bobby
Little
Tables.
Bobby tables.
Yeah. And I hope you've learned to sanitize your database inputs. Beautiful.
That's what he thought he was going to do, and he didn't. Instead, it's the opposite. All of the children's records are all on the one guy.
Yeah. So speaking of which, the Chinese made a big to-do about how their quantum computers were going to hack military-grade encryption. Turns out they actually only hacked the 50-bit version of an obsolete encryption method. So they were able to decrypt
How's that?
50-bit RSA, which has been beyond deprecated like since forever.
It still worked.
I mean, technically, it
Yeah.
was military grade at some point. I hope that's
Yeah.
what they use.
Sure.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. It's like technically China wasn't lying when they said it.
Yeah.
It's not what actually happened, but they weren't lying.
Yeah, I think their pants are pretty much on fire.
That's a constant state for China.
But yes, as is given away by the title of this, no, Chinese quantum computers haven't hacked military-grade encryption. The paper goes on to describe the researchers' success at breaking 50-bit RSA encryption as well as the process by which they did it. You know, still, using a quantum computer to break any kind of encryption, do any kind of real work, kudos.
Is pretty cool.
But they haven't rendered military-grade encryption useless with this thing. Not even close. They're so far away from doing that. But this was a thing. This was some Chinese propaganda that was in the news. So,
It sounds like some sort of like pop, like spy thriller book.
It's like the movie Hackers,
like
plug it into the phone line. It's like, no, that's not how that works. Stop that.
okay. I want to find something that'll entertain Functional.
I think.
Is he still with us, or did he fall asleep on us? No, he's still there. Okay.
I thought I heard someone snoring. I apologize.
I wouldn't blame you if you did,
It's not
man.
me.
I know it's not.
Speaking of which,
Go to sleep. It's Jack.
We're going to
Thank you
talk
very
about
much.
biohackers, and then Jack leaves. Oh, well. Okay. Good night, Jack.
Night,
Good night,
Jack.
everybody.
Thank you for being
Night.
here.
So,
thank you
Functional,
for having me.
remember the douche nozzle guy that was trying to hack his body so he could be as young as his son? The one that was stealing the stem cells, that
yeah.
guy? Brian
Oh,
Johnson?
yeah. The
Remember that
vampire.
asshole?
Yeah.
Millionaire biohacker 47 reveals how he managed to reverse his hair loss.
It's called hair plugs. Yeah, those are hair plugs, baby boy.
Yeah, so he's been doing his little thing. So I guess he's using melatonin, caffeine, D3, and light therapy and all this stuff to sort of get his hair back. But the other thing he's been doing, you know, there's his not narcissistic picture at all. He's obviously been working on his gains.
He's off his plastic surgery. Surgeon sucks.
Multimillionaire
That's the-
biohacker replaces liquid gold in his body to bid to reverse aging. This is really weird, this thing that
The
he's
dude's
done.
psychotic. Like, he's actually got idiots on the internet believing that his lungs are that of an 18-year-old.
Yeah. The American
It's-
had his plasma
Ugh.
removed and replaced with albumin, a natural protein-based substance that helps in the growth and repair of tissue, a procedure experts have likened to a human oil change.
No.
He literally had the blood extracted from his body, the plasma separated out, and replaced with this albumin compound.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, look how happy he is.
Some doctor is taking him for every ounce of money he can get. Because,
Yeah.
Oh, God. Bleh.
Yeah, this seemingly had an effect on his doctor's reaction to his plasma, which was described as the cleanest he's ever seen. Congratulations, friend! You have the cleanest blood plasma ever
I'm sure the doctor didn't get
because
a
it's
bonus
full
for
of
saying
full
that.
of egg whites. God.
Full of his own. No. I love the fact they still had to blur the doctor out.
Yeah, explaining how he prepared for his exchange, he wrote, "As we normally do, we completed a bunch of baseline measurements before this therapy, including toxins, but other things too, such as speed of aging, organ ages, microplastics, and other biomarkers. I do 6 total treatments."
What a creepy guy.
But he's also got, like, his face, like, I can tell he's had Botox. Because and Sora will probably know what I'm talking about more than anybody else. The shiny forehead that they all get when they have Botox. He's got the shiny forehead.
It's like
Very
a
much so.
stretch.
It glows.
It's just, and it's like his face looks weird. His face looks wrong.
And
It
what the
just-
hell's wrong with him wearing that shirt? What the hell is that?
Bleh.
How old is he?
Oh,
47?
47? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
He looks desperate. Yeah, here's
Agreed.
all right. Here's the thing. He has telomeres just like everybody else. Those telomeres fray at the edges, and that means that your body begins to not work as well as it used to. You know, he can do all the cosmetic things he can do. He can do all the mystical shit. He can do experimental biochemistry, home, kitchen chemistry remedies by some, doctor, clearly on the fringe of medicine, and he's still going to age. He might look amazing. He may leave a beautiful corpse, but he'll leave that corpse.
The thing about telomeres, or is it telomeres or telomeres?
Telomere.
Is it telomeres? Because I've always heard it as telomeres, but I'm going to trust you. Telomeres.
Yeah.
Is essentially like if you imagine a zipper and you imagine that little thing at the bottom that holds the zipper from just falling apart. That's sort of what is at the end of your DNA. And there's like a certain amount of just sort of inert material, which are these telomeres. They're essentially the tag end of a DNA. And every time that splits so that the cell can reproduce and make new cells, a little bit of that material at the end goes off, which means there's a finite number of times that that cell can divide. And after that happens, it can no longer divide anymore and you die. So that's what Skep is describing. Now, what your maximum age is in terms of your telomeres may be a lot further out than your natural age due to other types of organ failure. That's sort of what he's banking on. But you definitely will not live forever no matter what.
Yep.
The only way you could live forever would be to solve all of the aging problems and use some kind of gene therapy to repair your DNA.
Yes.
And if you could do that, you could theoretically live forever.
Or start
Map.
cloning your body.
Yeah, like
Map
Duncan
your- map
Idaho.
your
Rising
consciousness.
away. Exactly.
Yeah, just move your brain. Think, 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 think.
Map your consciousness into a computer. That's the best way. That way
Yeah.
you can, go where you want to go and just solar sails and
There's
as long
not
as
there's
there's
not
stars, you're around.
Yeah.
there's not
I feel
entire
like-
book series and animes about how badly that can go sideways or anything like that.
No,
Not
no,
at
no.
all.
No, not a one.
So it's not just this guy. I actually had a few more of these things creep their way into my awareness. I said the bio douche is what I paid for him, and I said, and the douchesse. So here's the
Oh
douchesse.
God, of course there's a woman.
There's a woman.
Of course.
Duchette.
I'm a biohacker who wants to live to 150. I asked my husband to do health tests before we started dating, and now I'm the chief health officer of our relationship.
Oh God.
Yeah, and she has a hyphenated last name, of course.
Of course she does.
Of course she does.
Is
Yeah.
she on the carnivore diet? I'm sorry.
She actually, her job is she runs a company that does this sort of
Of
stuff
course.
for
Of course
narcissistic
she
people.
does.
Yeah.
Oh
The
Lord.
pictures in this
Please.
article are so good. Oh, look at that
Please.
picture.
Oh yeah, the red light therapy, which they've
The
shown doesn't actually do
togetherness.
that much.
Togetherness with her in her relationship.
You have to do
No,
medical
this
grade.
article is a giant ad for her, the whatever company.
Yeah,
she works
basically,
for.
yeah.
Yep. Look
Um,
at them. Oh, look.
God, that looks
Red
creepy. God, that looks like something from a Kubrick film.
Yeah,
Like, it's
no,
just
that's-
blah.
It does.
It's just he's sucking it in too, which makes it even fucking funnier.
Or a Green Day music video.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's just bi-weekly
these
marriage
people-
optimization meetings.
Wait, I missed that. Where was that?
Stop.
Organization meetings.
Scroll down just a little bit more, because I saw it. There it is.
Oh, yeah, that's
we also
right.
Have, we take notes on what we want to talk about, and Warren makes an agenda. Oh God.
We start with compliments, and there's the optimizations, which covers. Then we close with compliment. Oh, so they do the compliment sandwich. Okay,
Nice.
like at
Yeah.
your job.
Yeah, that
what-
marriage is gonna last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God. No, for the people in chat, this is the crazy that you don't put your dick in.
Yeah.
Well, she
I'm
is
just
kind
saying.
of
Oh,
she is
yeah,
kind of
it's-
hot though, so I don't think he's thinking
Yeah.
clearly.
Oh, I can guarantee you he's not, but he's gonna be thinking clearly when he wakes up with a butcher knife above his head. Why did you not take the pills?
When she
honey?
decides to harvest him for his organs, no hard
Exactly.
feelings, but mommy needs
You're younger than me. I
mommy
need
needs
it.
some stem cells.
Or she decides she wants to have a baby so this way they can get the umbilical cord stem cells.
Yeah, you know when I tested you before we got married, it was also to see your organ donor status for me.
And how
sure
many
you have an organ donor
organs he has.
Yeah,
That's funny.
I like it.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay. And there was actually one more. This 81-year-old biohacker spends $70,000 a year trying to reverse aging. Well, I mean, he is 81. So
he looks good for
he's
81.
I'm sure he's feeling pretty motivated. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to live longer. But $70,000 a year, it's like if that's what you want to spend your money on, more power to you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I found something funny.
Yeah.
It says,
Are we talking about the other ones again?
well, no, I'm talking about this one that's on the screen right now. It,
Okay.
It says doesn't use soap. But it's like I feel like there's two different names of people because it says Kenneth Scott travels internationally for experimental treatments, doesn't use soap, and spends hundreds of dollars on that. But then every few months, the internet explodes with news about Brian Johnson. I thought that was funny because I thought that was the guy's name.
That's the previous guy. Yeah, that's the Dio.
No, I thought it was this one because that would have been funny. I don't use soap. My last name's Johnson, as in Johnson and Johnson. I thought that was funny, but
yeah,
because that would be ironic and funny as.
There's not a damn thing wrong with trying to cheat death, especially if you've got the means to do it. Get some stem cells going on. I mean, people have said so many great things about stem cells. Yeah. You got knee problems,
on one hand,
stem cells.
These people.
They helped my dad.
Yeah.
All these people who definitely should be in therapy, right? Not doing this stuff, but because they're doing this stuff, maybe we find out something that works. Right?
Yeah.
Pushing, private investors in new science. That's pretty cool. That's fine as long as they're only hurting themselves, right?
Yeah. But if we
You hope.
but if we say that healthcare is a right, and we just say without adding any qualification to it, does that mean that every single person who can't afford it is entitled to $70,000 a year worth of anti-aging procedures?
At least. At least. That's a starting point.
It's either that or MAID, right, Sora?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Just give up.
The thing is the way that birth rates may or may not be declining in certain countries. Like, this would be the next best thing, right? We need people to live longer to take care of the already other aging population, right? So,
well, it's just it's the fact though that a lot of this stuff, much like certain diets that are out there, is complete schlock. And that's the issue. Like, it would be one thing if these were actual, like, these weren't like snake oil salesmen selling these people who are very obviously have some kind of actual dysmorphia going on, selling them quick fix habits and then lying to them saying, oh yeah, no, you look so much younger. Don't listen to anybody. They're just jealous or whatever they do. And it's that thing of like, if this was actual, like they gave their body to medical testing to see if they could figure this stuff out to maybe make it, maybe not make people live forever, but make it aging easier on people. So this way you don't have people not being able to walk, not being able to talk properly, not being able to feed themselves. Like, that would be okay, but it's all snake oil. It's all bullcrap. It's like, I'm getting my plasma replaced. Fuck off. I don't use soap. F off, man.
So I think the term that I heard somebody use, I can't remember what it was, is they were talking about not lifespan, but health span, meaning increasing the number of healthy years a person has.
Which is what I want.
Yeah.
I want healthy years.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve yourself, but I think making yourself crazy by trying to do something which you can't do, like live forever, is kind of silly.
Amazing looking Belgian suicide pads.
Yeah, doesn't that sound cool?
Those things look.
They look very interesting.
Awesome.
They look very interesting.
I want to see if they have some different finishes.
So I do want to talk about
the afterlife in color.
I do want to talk about the Tony Hinchcliffe thing. You guys have all heard about his statement about the island of floating garbage, right?
Yes, right.
Is he time out. No. Is he the guy who does the program where they take the boats out and get the net and get it, or is this just a guy complaining about it?
This is a guy who is a comedian. He's a tiny. He's like a tiny.
The Puerto Rico comment.
Yeah, the Puerto Rico comment. Okay, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Now, so the non-Fox News press has just been trying to make a meal out of. Essentially, you have an insult comedian who really just roasts. That's his default setting, is roasting people. He hosts the Kill Tony podcast, which is huge, and he's like this small gay guy. He's like a little diminutive guy who just insults people, and conservatives are totally comfortable with this sort of stuff. To show you how not homophobic people on the right are, they booked Tony Hinchcliffe, insult comic. They went over the material that he was going to do before he did it. So this wasn't a surprise to them. They knew he was going to do edgy humor, and that was in the Madison Square Gardens thing. Of course, they cherry-picked bits out of it so that AOC could complain about it. I just wanted to show you a little bit of what he did so you can get a sense of the tone of it, sort of what was surrounding that one comment that they like to cherry pick.
It's absolutely wild to see. And in Texas, stuff is really, really crazy. We're right there by a wide open border. Where are my proud Latinos at tonight? You guys see what I mean? It's wide open. There's so many of them. It's absolutely incredible.
That was
Believe
good.
it or
I
not,
like that
people,
one.
I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this. It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country.
Okay, so of all the things Tony said as he made fun of black people and Latinos and Puerto Rico and all sorts of other stuff, I mean, he's an insult comic. That's what he does.
And he said worse on the Kill Tony podcast.
Oh, he says way worse things.
So much worse.
But as he says later on here, he mentions that the Republicans are the people who have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what they were trying to show. They were showing, like, we're not uptight. We make fun of everybody. We love everybody. Everybody's welcome. It's fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. But, of course, they took that little snippet and tried to turn it into rage fuel for AOC so she could just run around and stamp her little feet like Elizabeth Berkley in Showgirls and make a face. Because, you know, she's offended and, you know, her mama's offended and everybody's offended because that's, you know, whatever.
I'm offended you got voted for, sweetheart.
Yeah.
We're in the same party there.
So I thought just a little context might make it clearer what a huge nothing burger Tony Hinchcliffe's comments actually were. But Shane Gillis, the guy...
I can't see what everybody's excited about.
That's true.
I really can't.
They can't. It's only insulting if you're in the mood to be insulted and you take it out of context. So let me just play a little clip of Shane Gillis, the guy who does the great Trump impersonation, talking about this event.
I can't get Hinchcliffe off the brain, dude.
Bro.
That's all I think about. It makes me laugh.
It's the funniest thing ever.
It's the funniest thing that's
If Trump loses,
it's
the ultimate.
And it is Tony's fault. And because of that, World War III does take place. Tony Hinchcliffe is Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
I'm going to be holding my whole family, and I'm going to see the blast radius before we go out in a hot flash. I'm going to go, an island of garbage?
He was the linchpin moment. He was the linchpin moment.
so Tony Hinchcliffe is Franz Ferdinand.
That's funny.
Oh, God.
I don't know why people have such a problem with it, but it's like, I guess the one comment that I saw from another comedian, I can't remember which one it was. No, it was Joe Rogan. He said that when you're basically, if you're a comedian and somebody asks you to do comedy at a thing that is anything but a comedy performance, just don't do it. Because it always goes poorly. Because people just don't understand. Because you suddenly shift gears from insult comic to, you know, serious political something or other, right? And you can't really make that shift. And people will not understand the things you're saying are jokes because of where you're saying them.
Well, I mean, from what I heard of the crowd and the fact that that was Madison Square Garden, it seemed a large portion of the audience there got it was a joke.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. So it's like, Joe, honey, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, the people that were there didn't seem to have a problem with it.
Yeah, it's not complicated.
Yeah, it's like, Joe, calm down.
Yeah, it's actually not complicated at all. It's very straightforward.
Yeah, like, I mean, the fact that you could hear laughter, and I know how much those mics deaden outside audio, and like how loud people would have to be in order for the mic to even pick up on it. Because you can tell by how the laughs are muffled that there's no mic pointed toward the audience, so there's no like portrayal of canned laughter. Sorry. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like that was a good laugh for Madison Square Garden. I don't care who you are. That was a good laugh for it.
Well, a lot of times those sort of events, like, can you imagine how not fun a Kamala rally is? Or imagine those poor suckers who went to the Hillary rallies. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Jesus.
All that money, they don't even serve chicken. I mean, it's just not good.
Come walking out with a ghost of narcissism just on your shoulders. Just like, it's just like, I'm coming with you.
So who was supposed to show up? Was it Beyonce?
I think Beyonce...
I mean, it's not like she performed.
reportedly-
She just sort of showed up and said, you get more
That's-
taxes and you get more taxes.
That's what she always does. That's
She
what
came.
never
People
will not.
complained. People were upset that Beyonce didn't perform.
Yeah.
That she just came there to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what people were
Stupid
upset.
Beyonce.
It's like, really, it's a political rally. Why would she perform, you idiots? But that shows you the audience that I almost called her Camel. Kamala is broaching for, where they're like, I'm amazed they haven't started to scream and cry about Taylor
Well,
Swift showing up.
watch and see. Kamala will win. She'll be losing. Trump will go to bed. He'll think he's ahead. He think he's got it in the bag. And in the morning, you watch, all the key states will have a lot of late returns, and they'll come in heavily Democratic. And that's how this thing is going to go. And she will win.
Possibly.
That's how it goes.
I mean, it really depends on whether. I mean, okay. I mean,
Or possibly it could go the other way.
I think.
Allegedly, we do not actually believe this. YouTube, do not come for us. Do not strike the channel.
I
Continue,
think
apologize.
that it's all going to boil down to Pennsylvania, and I think that everything else is pretty much set in stone. Unless there's a major surprise, it's all Pennsylvania. Because even if Trump picks up Nevada,
I think Trump might pick up Michigan.
I don't think he's going to pick up Michigan. I don't think he's going to pick up Minnesota, and I don't think he's going to pick up Wisconsin. And I think they're dreaming about picking up Virginia. Be happy to be wrong about this, but I do think he's going to pick up.
I think they will stay home for Kamala, and you know who will stay home? Will be the black people in Detroit. They have no respect for her.
Yeah, I think he's going to take Georgia, North Carolina, and probably Arizona. He might get Nevada, but it's not enough to put him over the top. It really is just Pennsylvania.
Well, Pennsylvania, yeah, I always considered Pennsylvania he had to have.
I don't think he can win without Pennsylvania. I don't think either of them can win without Pennsylvania. Looking at the way
Pennsylvania
things
is
are
the new
unfolding.
Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
remember how Ohio used to be the state you had to capture? If you captured Ohio, you'd win.
That used
Now
to be the
it's-
one, yeah.
Yeah, now it's Pennsylvania. You're exactly right.
Yeah. But just looking at the math, if he wins Pennsylvania, I think he's going to win. If he doesn't, I don't think he is. And it's like, is it possible for some monkey business to go on in one state, in one district, enough to swing that? He's not ahead by that much. He's only like half a point ahead. I think in the polls in Pennsylvania, it's really not a lot. So it really also depends on how much things are, how much people are just afraid to say they're going to vote for Trump, which skews the numbers. Because I think a lot of people are just afraid to say
that
they're going to vote for him.
They'll quietly do that just because they are kind of offended that their party gave them the choice it gave them.
Yeah. So I do have a POB that I want to sort of hand out, and it's going to a place I wouldn't really expect it, because I'm not really a big fan of actors for the most part. I mean, I enjoy listening to Peter O'Toole talk about his drunken escapades, but that doesn't mean I admire him. I just find him to be entertaining. Actors typically don't do things which I think are good, you know, sort of as human beings, right? And I'm not talking about their work.
Generally.
So,
Gary Sinise.
yeah, Anna Kendrick made a movie recently for Netflix, which I guess was very well received. It was called Woman of the Hour.
Yeah, it's based on a true story.
And it's based on a true story about a serial killer, a really nasty serial killer. I mean, you know, you're familiar with the story.
Nice serial killer.
Well,
a nasty one.
Well, it was a dating show serial killer.
This guy,
Yeah.
Oh, I
Like,
remember
and
this guy.
that's what it was based on. Supposedly, it's done very well, and the people who, because obviously people, as Skep proves, there's people who were alive when this happened, and it's very respectful of. It's not like the Dahmer movie, where it went a little too dark, a little too fast. This one is very kind of. And the guy actually looks creepy. Like, he's not hot. Like, they didn't try to hotify him like they do a lot of
Oh my god!
like
Sim.
Yeah, totally.
yeah, it's no when you see him, he
has that sex registry look about him.
Well, the actor, God bless his heart, because he pulled it off really well. Like he looks like someone who you actually believe is an actual serial killer, not a romance novel serial killer. Oh my god, he tried to kill me.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's not that guy. It's the guy with the long hair that's in the last shot. But
Nice
it's
sideburns.
Well, it's like the sets
was
look
just
really
looking
good
at
for the
that.
time period. Like they actually got dating show like the way it looked. It's like the colors are right. It's really good.
Yeah.
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 And
They've got the simpering orange.
but she decided that because of what the film was about, that she thought, no, I shouldn't really be making money off of this. I feel like I did a good thing. I'm going to take all the money that I made off of this. I'm going to give it to charity.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
I really do. Because she
Yeah.
could just not say anything and keep all that money and roll around like Scrooge McDuck in it every single night if she wanted to.
Oh yeah.
But she's taking that money, and instead of profiting off of a story about a disaster, she's giving it to charity.
She's paying it forward.
That seems like a
Karma.
lot of
Karma.
character for a 39-year-old actress.
Karma takes notes.
Because a lot of actresses don't have a lot of character, honestly.
No.
They really don't.
This is nothing
Which-
but good stuff.
Well, she's been acting since she was a child too, and she was on Broadway. So this is someone who's been. This is not like
A Johnny
performative.
come lately.
Well, it's also not a performative. I'm a new actor who's only gotten big in the last 5 years. Kind of.
Right.
A
It's somebody
stunt.
with a distinguished career already.
Yeah. So it's like she's actually. So when she says she's doing it, you know she's doing. The poor girl was in Twilight, for God's sake. Like,
She was
deserves
good
all
in
the-
Twilight.
She was like the only good thing in Twilight.
I know. Twilight was kind of hard to watch sometimes.
But she, like, this is something respectable, and she's not the one making a big deal out of it. Like, people are talking about it, but it isn't like my PR team got a hold of it and now it's blasted all over everything. It's more of, this is what she did. It's awesome. She's talented. There you go. And I respect her even more for it. It's like, get it. Get it, girl.
Yeah.
And she's
Go
massively
for it.
And she's massively talented too. So.
Yep, she is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the guy who they got to play the serial killer, it's like perfect casting director, perfect casting.
All right. So I have this filed under Russia lol.
Oh God.
Russian court finds Google
Oh.
$20 decillion in fines.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one.
20
So that's 10. Okay, that's 20 decillion.
Yeah. To put that into
Yeah.
perspective, the World Bank estimates global GDP is around 100 trillion, which is peanuts
Yeah.
compared to the prospective Google fine.
What?
Google
that
would
in the
therefore
ruble?
have to find more money than exists on Earth to pay Moscow, but on Tuesday fell a little short of that mark when it posted 88 billion quarterly revenue. Yeah, for some, and it's mostly because they're blocking Russian news and content. So they're saying they owe Russia $20 decillion.
Isn't Russia also blocking outside content?
Yeah, it says the bizarre amount has been calculated after a 4-year court case that started after YouTube banned the ultra-nationalist Russia channel Sargrad.
Shemp.
Yeah,
I'll say Shemp for
Sarshemp
ya.
in 2020 in response to the U.S. sanctions imposed against its owner. Following Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine in 2022, more channels were added to the banned list, and 17 stations are now suing the chocolate factory. I don't know what that means, including Zvezda, a TV channel owned by Putin's Ministry of Defense, according to local media. Google was called by a Russian court to administrative liability under Article 13.41 of the Administrative Offensive Code for removing channels on the YouTube platform, blah, 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 $20 decillion.
Like that's it. That's like the thing is like if that was in rubles, that would make sense.
Yeah.
'Cause the Russian ruble's dog shit now. But like that's in actual like USD. It's like, are you like has Putin killed all the judges too? Like, did all the smart ones die? Or sorry, excuse me, suicide.
A Russian ruble is equal to about 1 cent.
That would work if that
says
was
here,
rubles.
100,000 rubles is about $1,000.
97.86 Russian rubles to the dollar.
Yeah.
97.8. So it's basically 98 cents.
Yeah, the court imposed a fine of 100,000 rubles or $1,025 per day, with the total fine doubling every week. Owing to compound interest, Google is now on the hook for an insane amount of money or what the judge on the Monday case called a case in which there are many, many zeros. Okay. So,
But more importantly, Skep, what's the
Skep.
gender wage pay gap
Skep
in Russia?
accidentally got bounced,
oh, he did?
or he accidentally left because he's
Well,
gone.
then he can answer my question in due time.
Look, he's running away from your question.
He's just afraid of the powerful.
There we
He
go.
is. He's afraid of a $20 decillion fine. That's what Skep's afraid of. Well, we have part of Skep.
Can you hear me?
A little bit. You need to get closer to your mic. You're distorted.
Hang on. Can you hear me now?
Yep, perfect.
All right. Sorry
Okay,
about that.
so 20 decillion. Let's see. Anything else we need to talk about today? I don't know if there's anything else we need to talk about. Oh, yes, we do. Oh, is Sora back yet?
I'm here. It's just my dog is going crazy. So.
Okay, well, we have to cover this before you, because you're not going to be here next week.
Oh yeah.
Oh, crap. Oh, you bastards. Hold on. Hold on. I actually kept the archive thing handy in another window so I could search more quickly. There we go.
Stream excellence.
Yeah.
Woo.
Oh, crap. This is going so well.
Real-time document foraging.
So, yay, giant African rats. Well done.
Okay. Giant African
There-
rats
Oh,
join
you did
crackdown
it.
against illegal wildlife trade.
Yes.
Look, he's got a little vest. He's on a little leash. They're essentially
These
using
are the
them.
guys who do landmines, right?
Yeah, and now they're using them to sniff out like animal parts and stuff that they're trying to smuggle. So they've trained them to search for rhino horns, elephant tusks, pangolin scales, all sorts of stuff. So they're now using the rats and their little sniffers to keep people from smuggling animal parts. And they get a little
Good.
vest and everything. He's probably got a 401k.
Yeah, I was gonna say. And a
I
board.
hope they're allowed to
Little mouse
eat
board.
the dangly bits off the poachers when they find them.
No, they eat
Oh,
this.
look at him
So cute.
getting his little lunch in a pet. Like a good
Yep.
boy.
It says the negative image of rats as dirty animals belies that they are disciplined and very clean, intelligent, and likable.
Yeah, Harry.
Yeah.
African giant
Rest in peace,
pouched
Nigel.
rats. Yeah. Almost a meter long from nose to
Yeah.
tail.
They big boys.
So this is like a proper pet. You can cuddle with them and you won't be scared you'll squish them.
Yeah. They'll only bite you a
Be
little bit
scared.
because you taste good.
They'll be afraid they'll squish you. Smother.
So do you want one since you can't get a capybara?
Yes.
Yeah, just think you could get a leash and a little vest. He's
It's
working.
like a small chihuahua.
He's working. Yeah, good times.
Listen, that is a man with a job. That is a high quality male.
Yeah. He's definitely hey, at least he's doing something useful. All right. I think we're all very tired at this point. And it is time to pack things up and say goodnight. Any final comments from anybody?
That was a swift 2 hours.
Yeah.
Let's all
Sure,
encourage
it's nice to be back.
let's all encourage Functional to continue to not smoke or smoke as he chooses.
Yep.
Yeah, so if there's nothing else, this has been your Minions of the Zoo for Saturday. Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat. Set up your IPv6 network. The zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye,
Good night, everybody.